Cloud.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jennifer Pasley. I'm with the Georgia Minority Business Development Agency Business Center at the Enterprise Innovation Institute at Georgia Tech. We welcome you to today's webinar on B2B marketing, specifically talking about branding essentials with creative mischief. We have Isham Colasetti and Karen Murphy who are joining us today. Our center is located on the Georgia Tech campus, and we help minority businesses in 4 strategic areas: access to markets and opportunities, building capacity, securing capital, and providing resources and expertise. We are a part of a national network consisting of 70+ centers across the country. Target areas include the MBDA business centers, advanced manufacturing, export centers, and federal procurement centers. We're a part of a national ecosystem that brings in city government, universities, nonprofit organizations across the country to help us provide crucial expertise to our clients and customers. We also partner on the local level with universities, cities, state, and regional entities to help us provide services to our clients and customers. Our team located at Georgia Tech is a very dynamic team. We have expertise in various areas, and we are here to support you in any way that we can help you scale your business. We'd like to thank our center partners, Comcast, EPCO, and Train Technologies, our main sponsors of the center. And today's webinar is navigating and adjusting to the new normal program. So we're happy again to have Creative Mischief with us to present on marketing essentials for B2B. This webinar is sponsored by the U.S. Department of Commerce Minority Business Development Agency under the Coronavirus Response and Relief Act. We'd like to thank our NANN partners, Albany Community Together, the ATL Airport Chamber, Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Georgia Micro Enterprise Network, Georgia Minority Supplier Development Council, the Greater South Fulton Chamber of Commerce, and US PAC. With that being said, I'd like to introduce again Isham Colasetti and Karen Murphy with Creative Mischief. We're happy to have you today for today's presentation. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Jennifer, and hello and welcome everybody. We're Creative Mischief, as Jennifer said, and our presentation today is on B2B branding essentials. This is the second in our NANN B2B series, and we'll be having another one in a couple weeks for B2B, so we look forward to hopefully seeing you there as well. A few housekeeping issues. For those of you who might not be familiar with this, if you want to ask a question, please use the Q&A button, a little icon that you'll see at the bottom of your screen, and you can type in your question, and we will be holding your questions to the end of our presentation, and then we'll have a Q&A session at the end where we can start to answer your questions. And also, many of you are asking if this presentation will be sent to you, and it will be emailed to you after the session. All right, so today we're focusing on making your brand work for you. Branding is your promise to your customer. It tells them what they can expect from your products and services, and it differentiates your offering from your competitors' offerings. Your brand is derived from who you are, who you want to be, and who people perceive you to be. How your brand is going to distinguish itself is the main question. We're hit with 5,000 ads daily, which is daunting. So how are you going to distinguish yourself? The good news is that according to Lucid Press, brands that retain consistent messaging and identity see a 33% increase in revenue. That's huge. So in addition, a strong brand position also leads to increased customer loyalty, higher brand recognition, and improved efficiencies for your own marketing. So it's everything, and it's your best bet in getting out to the market. So I'll let Isham start us off here.
Hey, yeah, I'm Isham Khalsteady. I founded Creative Mischief back in 2001. Since that time, we've been a branding and marketing company working with businesses, large and small, nonprofit, for-profit, and everything in between.
Right. And Isham and I both work a lot on brand together. Isham does a lot of the strategy, the visual part of it. I do a lot of the messaging part of it. But together we do a lot of brand positioning for companies, and it's one of our favorite things to do. Yeah, we've been doing it a long time, and it's been it's very rewarding as well.
It's been a lot of fun too.
Yeah. All right. So what makes a brand successful? So to begin with, we like to talk about what brand is. And it's important to understand that brand is more than just your logo. A lot of people just think, hey, it's my logo, I got a logo, I'm good. But really, it's experienced through every touch point your customer has with your business. So if you look at this visual here, you'll see that there's a whole customer experience up here at the top. There's a pre-purchase, a purchase, and a post-purchase. And there's tons of experiences within that realm that they're going to be having with you. And it could be with a person, it could be with an email, it could be with a website, it could be with an employee. There's all sorts of ways that people are going to come in contact with your brand. So knowing what your brand is the most important thing you can possibly do, because that is how people will get to know you and trust you. So today we're going to review really 4 main elements of brand that are important to establish. The first is to establish your why. And Simon Sinek here has he's written a lot of books. If you haven't read his book, I think it's The Power of Why. It's pretty good as it relates. I mean, it's really quite groundbreaking as it relates to why people buy your product, why people care about your business. And his quote here, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
And if you download the presentation, this link is to his TED Talk, where it really talks about the reason, like our brains are set up to respond and act on why and not on facts and figures. So it's a pretty great talk. So if you don't want to read the book, you can watch us talk and kind of get a good summary of what everything is.
Right. So establishing this why is a way to create an emotional resonance with your audience. This is that it's the thing that's going to lure people in to know more about you. So having that compelling idea or ideal that people can connect with, understanding that the what is easy to come up with. If you're selling a product and you say, hey, we sell X product, people are going to go, okay, so does, this group, this group, this group, and this group. But sharing why you do what you do, it's going to get people interested in you. It's going to get people to follow you and think more about your product and relate. And being relatable is one of the most important things you can do. And it is harder to come up with because it's really a more intangible thing. So the why must be sorted out in order to strike a chord with your readers. It's that first personality, that first impression as you walk in a room and people go, I want to know more about this.
It's funny, we work with a lot of law firms, and that second quote, that second bullet, with the what, it seems that every time we meet with a new law firm, they have the same things. We are just as smart as the big firms, but because we're not as big, we're not as expensive. and we get good results. And you're like, okay, so every law firm saying exactly the same thing. There's no way to stand out in that. So a lot of it is really about trying to get them to, like, how can you connect with people on a human level? It's kind of a challenge, but yeah. HVMG, this is one of the clients we work with that was probably the most brand focused. And when you think about what they do, and they turn hotels around. If a hotel is failing, they make it successful. But what they found is that they're able to do that through being very intentional about the brand. And they do they look at it as every aspect. So how they train the people to work there, how they remodel the hotel, how they market it, all of it kind of goes back to their brand promise, which is that they are your partner in excellence, providing best-in-class hotel solutions with uncompromised quality and integrity, everything they do. So they're training people to be the best that they can be, the way that they do the interior, everything best they can be, the way they work with their investors. They are the best shepherds of the investment they get. So here's their CEO at HVMG. Be excellent is embedded into everything we do. So be excellent is an action. It is a conscious choice that each of us makes every day that guides and inspires how we approach our lives. You see this, like when you walk into their office, they have messaging all over the place that reinforces it, all of their training manuals, everything. And one of the things I thought was also very interesting is they had a series of key areas that were important for success in their business, like building valuable relationships.
Right, and these were their brand pillars, and valuing relationships was one of their brand pillars that they wanted to make sure showed through with all their marketing.
Yeah, so we've worked a lot with the messaging, but one of the things that I thought was very interesting is that they every quarter measure. So they have a couple measurements for each one of their pillars to make sure that they are providing excellent relationships. So for their brand partners, what's the satisfaction? For their investors, what's that satisfaction? So they have another one about employees, and it talks about, and they measure several aspects of the employee. Everything they do, they say it over and over again. They live it, and then they measure it as well, so that they always know where to focus. If one of these numbers starts to drop, they know to kind of double down on that aspect and bring it back up, because they want a consistent brand promise for every interaction that they do.
Right, and with HVMG, we showed this because they really were a company that we worked with that made sure that every element of their brand promise was, not only embedded with their employees, with every client relationship, with every piece of marketing material. They embraced it, and they embodied it. So they did quite a good job at just taking that all the way through the brand.
So the second thing to really focus on is, how do you create value? I think probably everybody has seen Tony Robbins at some point. If you add the value, you will become the brand. Find a way to add more value than anyone else does. So the creating value, this is the reason or substance to believe in you. Why does it matter that you are offering your service? What do your customers get out of interacting with your business? Why are you the superior choice? So you're kind of building that story.
So yeah. One way to look at this is, once you've established your why, creating that's the emotional connection. That's the lure that's going to bring people in. But then you've got to, this is kind of like where the rubber meets the road. This is why after they come in, they want to know, okay, now sell me, tell me what you're about. Like, let me believe in you. So this substance is what is going to get people to stay there after they're attracted to you. So, why are you the superior choice? These are stats, case studies, testimonials, comparisons. You got to back up what you're saying that you are and what you believe in. And this is the stickiness that gets people to stay.
So Care Payment is a good example. They are a new model for collecting money for healthcare providers. So the challenge with healthcare providers have is, I think they collect something under 50%. It might only be 40% of the bills that they send out, they collect. And if anybody has not paid a health bill on time, basically that process is the hospital sends out the first couple of notices, and then they sell that collection to a collection company who pays 90 cents on the dollar. And then they try a couple of times. They sell it to the next one who gets it 80 cents on the dollar. And they can have 10 or 15 groups that they're passing your bill between as it goes through. So Care Payment is saying, we can come in and we have a better way to be able to do this that collects more money. So our mission is to help people be healthy, both physically and financially. Oh. Our text disappeared. Oh, that was weird. So why we do it, patients are burdened with the high cost of healthcare. That means the same old solutions for patient collections aren't good enough. Most traditional programs leave too many patients and their unpaid balances behind, and then they get into the statistics. So working with us, these are the results we get, and they're better than anybody else.
Yep. So the arc of their story, if you see as they go through it, they present their brand promise up front. They let people know, what the challenge they're facing is. And then they back that up with stats, and they show that, we not only can we relate to you, but we have the proof to show that we are who we say we are, and we'll be able to deliver a better product. So that just, again, ladders back to really making sure that you're creating that value. After you bring them in with your why, then you create that value. And then the third step, the third element of this is defining your target audience.
So don't find customers for your products, find the products for your customers. And this gets really into understanding your audience and what they need. Good marketing strategy begins with knowing exactly who you are marketing to. Don't try to be everything to everyone. Don't cast too wide a net. Hone in your best candidate to convert into a client. So,
yeah.
What?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah. So basically here, you've got to know your target audience in order to know who to speak to. And there's all sorts of ways to be able to find that audience, understand more about that audience, but really doing your research on them, and then doing the types of marketing to test to them, to test your products with them, so that you can start refining that more and more. But it starts with defining it. And sometimes people are like, well, everybody is my audience, and you really want to find that best candidate. And that best candidate is where you're going to spend most of your money on marketing and spend most of your time on marketing, because you're going to get the best chance of converting them into your client.
So NCR came to us, they understood their customers. So hospitality, retail, and banking, those were their customers. And what happened was they started buying a lot of their hardware. NCR was a hardware manufacturer of point of sale and ATMs and all these kinds of things. Well, now you can get all that stuff a lot cheaper from China and from other companies. So there's just a lot of competition in the hardware manufacturing space. ATM's been around for 40 years. There's a lot of cheaper solutions out there. So NCR understood their audience, and they understood that their audience was having a challenge because now instead of having one system in place, they had 50 different pieces of hardware, all with different software that they were trying to pull data out of so that they could look at how their company was doing. So imagine going into a Walmart, you've got all your inventory, you've got all your point of sale, you've got your online, all of these things are run by different systems and different hardware manufacturers. And those clients were having a problem getting the data they wanted. So NCR took an approach to a digital transformation approach and said, we're no longer going to be a hardware company. We're going to be a software as a service company that does hardware as well. So we came up with this tagline, simple isn't easy, but it is possible. And it's all about changing how people perceive NCR in the marketplace. We're not the place that you go to buy an ATM or a point of sale. We're the place that's going to come help connect all of your devices. And then we laddered that to each one of their audiences. So for restaurants, for banking, for retail stores, all of that. And we did that by bringing in a few elements. So the logo, we didn't change. The campaign headline, simple made possible. Getting ahead in your business is easier than you think. Simple made possible. Everything ladders back to that. And then we created this line that connects all the different parts and all the different aspects that businesses might have to deal with. And this line changes based on who they're talking to. So a bank might have ATMs and drive up windows and all these kinds of things, whereas this is going to be more of a retail store. We made it so that all the photography kind of reinforces that people are happier, they're calm, that there is a simpler way of being able to get to what they need and run their business. So all of that kind of reinforced this change that they were making. So we're no longer going to show an ATM with all these stats about how cool our ATM is. We're going to show someone working at a bank that is happy and calm and getting the data that they need.
And also back to that real quickly, as it related to knowing the audience, as Isham said, we wanted to make sure that people saw themselves when they saw this campaign. So these were people that,
reflected their customers.
Right. While they weren't selling necessarily directly to that customer, the businesses they were working with were selling to that customer, and that is the result they wanted their customers to feel. So we wanted to make sure that that when people saw the brand, when people saw the campaign, that they would relate to these businesses and what they were trying to achieve. So that's another part of knowing your audience, is knowing what they're going to respond to, and making sure that they see themselves in the types of branding you provide when you do your marketing.
Yeah, and I really like the fact that they have a customer that knew them as one thing, and they decided to create new products and services for the customers that they wanted and that they were already working with, and saying, let us help you get to the next stage of your business. So this is supposed to be the fourth, is consistency.
Yes, we skipped a number in there somewhere. I
No,
think it was number 3.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then I like this quote by The Rock. I've learned over the years that when it comes to success, consistency is key. Consistent hard work that we may not like doing today, but will pay off and we'll love tomorrow. Earn it and enjoy it. He is definitely consistently Like he works out all the time. He's always acting like he's been pretty impressive to watch. And it's just consistency. So that consistency is really, how do you embody the brand and tone of your company? So consistency is vital to the brand. Remember that brands that retain consistent messaging and identity see a 33% increase in revenue. That was something we talked about earlier. Plus, a strong brand position also leads to increased customer loyalty, higher brand recognition, improved efficiencies for your marketing. So consistency also makes it easier to do what you're doing. So you don't have to think through as much when you want to create a new email if you're consistent, if a lot of those elements are consistent. So New York Life Investments came to us. At the time, they were 13 boutique agencies that were all working as their own brands, but also as kind of New York Life Investments. And the goal was to bring them all under one umbrella officially. And how do we do that? So how do we transition all of these 13 brands into one big company? And we spent a lot of time thinking through what are those elements and how are we going to present things. That transition started, we had this brand, and if you look, it's a lot of large image, color overlay with text on it. So large image, color overlay, there's the white line and then the text on it. So over and over again, same kind of thing. So first step was we defined the brand. Then we started applying it to all those different boutiques and really playing up the aspects within those boutiques that were like the people and the processes and the products that they were selling. We chalked those up, and then over the course, I think this took 18 months. So rebrand all of the different groups, and then started introducing New York Life Investments through that time. And then at the end of that 18 months, we launched New York Life Investments, and then had all those boutiques point to the products. Like if you went to like Muni 360, which was one of the boutiques, it would end up going to that Muni 360 product within the new website. So then we're just routing people to where they needed to be. And when you got there, it was the same consistent feel. You saw the same people. So we did a lot of highlighting the individuals within those groups, so that when we did make that change and you went to New York Life Investment instead of Muni 360, you would say, oh, well, those guys it's still the same people. And it looks the same, it feels the same, so that there wasn't as much of a shock. And that consistency allowed them to bring together 13 companies into one brand successfully. And it's made it a lot easier for them. And as New York Life, they put out a lot of content. So the amount of time it takes for them to be able to produce content. So they do these insight diet, the bottom right here, this kind of insight. They put those out every week with 13 different groups in there. They're always working on 2 or 3 of them at a time. All of them have the consistent kind of feeling. They have a repository of imagery. They know that there is a big color block. They know there's a couple lines. They know how everything lays out. It's just a matter of pasting it in almost to get all of these different assets produced. And all of them end up being used to help with lead generation and growth. Interesting stat is our first campaign that we rolled out, their market is financial advisors. We were able to connect with 1/3 of the market the first shot. So that series of consistent ads, insights, landing pages, all of that stuff. That consistency allowed them to rise above the noise on LinkedIn and on the web. It was a totally digital campaign. Drive a third of their audience to landing pages that we were able to collect their content information. So pretty great response output from that. So I know we've covered a whole lot today on the 4 different pillars that make up a good brand. Hoping you guys might have some questions.
Right, and just as just sort of a overview again, the main elements of making a successful brand, knowing your why, providing people with the proof that they need to believe in your why and what you do and your product. Know that target audience. Make sure you know who they are, exactly what they are interested in, what they like, where they visit, you know, how they want information, how they consume information, and make sure you're connecting with that audience. And then consistently express your brand so that every interaction an individual or a client has with you is going to be one that they take away your brand in every experience with it. And so in that way, what we're looking to do is to make sure that you distinguish your brand in the marketplace so that it sets you apart and allows you to be known by your best audience. So
I see that one question has come through already. So when selling an environmental solution and partnership with other businesses, how does one market the long-term benefits, economic, environmental, and social, to the customer so that they can see the value rather than focus on those short-term costs? So we actually helped a client do pretty similar to this. It was Danimer Scientific. They are they sell bioplastics. It's kind of a new biodegradable plastic. And it's more expensive than what's currently in the market. And the good news is if you're having environmental impact and you can really get people, you can connect with people on those aspects very easily. It's that economic, environmental, and social, these are your differentiators. So if you're believing in this vision of the future and how your products are going to make a better world, that's definitely a story that's going to resonate very well in today. So then you're basically trying to find companies that also want to do that. And as we've seen, I'm watching a lot of stuff now where I think it's ESL stock, so environmental, social, something, where they're starting to give a rating as to the environmental and social impact companies are having, and then bundling those together and portfolios that people can invest in those kinds of things. There's a lot of benefit and interest that can be created there as you tell your story. But it does get to that why you do what you do. So,
right. And with Danimer Scientific, what we did, I sent everybody the website there, is we looked at how do we position them on their website, because we were doing their website. And we came up with this idea of the future of plastics is here. So not only is it here as in today, but it's also here as in it's at Danimer Scientific. And if you get a chance to go to that website, you'll see that we did this image of a plastic bottle overlaid on top of sort of like a waste heap, if you will. But inside the plastic bottle is this future of a very, of a clean mountain grass-filled area. So from the standpoint of brand, if you're talking about, this selling this environmental solution, and you're going to be trying to show what the future does look like, let them see that, tell that story, because that's what they need to believe in, is the future that everybody wants. I mean, everybody wants a better, cleaner future. All of us do. It's just, how do we get there? There's all sorts of ways to get there. Sometimes it's costly, sometimes it's this, sometimes it's that. So being able to tell and paint that picture is where we would recommend going, and definitely check out Danimer Scientific, because they do a pretty good job of it. Just on their website there, sort of positioning themselves from the get-go.
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions? What is the average cost for a high quality and efficient branding project? Depends. So I think it depends on how wide your market is. So we've done some that are like where the target market is a few hundred people. And it's how do you resonate with that audience? So those kinds of projects are a lot less, like, 20 to 50 grand. And then large branding projects, especially like companies like consumer product companies, will spend millions on it. Realistically, if you understand your audience and you understand what you're trying to do and what their needs are, it helps get us a long way efficiently.
If you all also had the chance to attend our earlier session on small business marketing, we did have a section in there about brand, where we provided a website that helps you walk through, from a small business perspective, how you can go about defining your brand better. So how you get to your brand positioning. And we can share that website with you. I'll try to get it here and put it in the chat. But it does a really good job of just stepping you through that from the standpoint of what are the things you need to define your brand, starting with knowing your audience, all the way through, have you done a SWOT analysis? Have you put together a value proposition? And then it just gives you some good advice and links to walk through that. But I recommend that everybody who has a brand goes through a brand positioning, trying to do it on your own, trying to do it with a group of people, trying to bring somebody, try to bring somebody in to help you do that. And then of course, eventually you have to get to a point where you're going to want to bring in somebody who can do your visuals, your graphics, your writing, and hopefully be able to set you up in a way that you can then move forward with all those elements of brand that you need to go out to market.
Yeah, and to continue on with kind of the average cost, if you want to just talk through it and you want to jump on the phone for a half hour, I'd be more than willing to look at where you are and where your challenges are, and kind of talk through what the next approaches are, whether we're the right next step or not. I'd be more than willing to help.
Are there any other questions? We got done early today. So if there's anything you all want us to go back and talk a little bit more about, we'd be happy to. But we can only hear from you if you write in the Q&A.
Bishop and Karen, this has been another very informative session that you've presented to our clients and customers. We thank you for that. One of the key messages that I believe should be one of our takeaways is brands with consistent messaging and identity see a 33% increase in revenue. That is significant. and
And
can be a
also,
game changer for many businesses.
I know it's gotta be weird sitting on these webinars and just kind of listening to us talk and rattle on about things. Would love to know from everybody what challenges you're having related to your brand, and if there's anything like, do people have solid, like, do you have a good solid brand? Have you thought through your brand pillars? Like, is all of this information that we gave things you already knew? Do you have any questions on how to implement it, or what? So obviously we want to make sure that the next presentation we give is, builds on top of this one. So any questions would be great. What is the best way to get in touch with you? Oh, yeah. Yeah, my email address is in the chat.
So it looks like we're able to give you 15 minutes back of your time. Isham and Karen, again, thank you so much. And with that, we'll look at the upcoming NANN events. Tomorrow, we have a finance webinar on why profitable businesses fail. And you'll see our upcoming events in marketing. So again, we hope that you will join us for these very informative sessions. We'd like to once again thank our NANN partners, Albany Community Together, the ATL Airport Chamber of Commerce, the Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Georgia Micro Enterprise Network, Georgia Minority Supplier Diversity Council, the Greater South Fulton Chamber of Commerce, and USPAC. And again, a special thanks to Creative Mischief. Creative Mischief is also a team member at Georgia Tech, and we welcome working with them and their company every day. They do an absolutely phenomenal job of helping us reach our marketing goals. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.